Poor old Nadia is suffering from the most awful cold I think I've ever heard you have.
Oh, look, I've got tissues stuck everywhere. Ooh. The sneezes are unbelievable.
I mean, they literally go on for hours.
Yeah. So I've literally dragged myself from the sofa to do this because I really want to, because we think we have stumbled upon our next big reviewing series.
Well, we haven't done a TV drama for ages, and we've missed it, haven't we?
Because we've had so many great ones, haven't we? With
The Bodyguard, The Cry, Killing Eve,
all those things we're really
Sharp
missing.
Objects.
So
Billions.
To be honest, Mrs. Wilson hasn't kicked me in the gut like those have.
Well,
but I think it's going to be a creeper.
Even before it kicked us in the gut, we did have a go at that. What was the one we had a go at, which was the John le Carré? Do you remember? The Little Drummer Girl.
Couldn't bear it.
Did you like that? Let us know in the comments below if you liked it. Because we couldn't get to grips with it. Yeah. So here's the thing.
Actually, before we get going, can we just ask you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can always be told when we're uploading new stuff. Because we go to a lot of trouble.
A lot of time and effort.
To make them on. We wouldn't want you to miss out.
I mean, and you know, just doing what we're doing right now, which seems really pointlessly ridiculous and stupid and silly, that takes skill. Blowing your nose like that takes real skill, thought and effort. Anyway, here's the first thing. My first introduction to this was seeing a photograph of Ruth Wilson, the actress. Now, I often am at the National Theatre in London, and she's often in the cafe. And I've seen her in a couple of plays, and we tried The Affair, in which she was...
which we didn't mind her, but I could not
bear
him, and I couldn't bear his bum.
What's his name?
We had to see his bum
what's his face? Dominic Cooper? No, not Dominic Cooper.
Dominic someone.
So we didn't get on with The Affair. I know a number of you guys really like it. I've been toying with whether I saw it. Yeah, we tried it again.
Dominic, not her.
And so... I'm agnostic on Ruth Wilson. I haven't yet seen her in something that's made me go,
we don't know her, do we?
No, we don't know her at all.
We haven't got a relationship with her yet.
And a couple of things I saw on the stage, I think the stage performance wasn't particularly brilliant. The staging wasn't particularly great.
I haven't seen her on stage.
But anyway, so...
Have I seen her on stage?
I don't think you have. No. But one thing I would like to say is, this definitely turned me around on her. I thought it was from the get-go, a very subtle performance from Ruth. Did you?
Very subtle.
Too subtle?
It was no, absolutely not. No, I thought right. Kicking off straight at the top.
It was just such a long pause,
because I was thinking I'd like to go back to the beginning of the show. So right at the very beginning, I had a huge problem in that Iain Glen, her husband's makeup of him aged up was quite frankly dreadful, and so it put me off. And this is why it's just always so important. Everybody's job on a show is as important.
Yep.
So for me, I'm sorry, and I'm a great fan of the makeup room. I have many friends that are makeup artists. Don't know who the person was, but for me, it did not look good enough.
Can I make a point in general about not just Hollywood, but about British dramas too? Makeup seems to fall apart whenever it has to do anything with men's hair. Men's hair always falls apart. It either looks like a syrup, or it looks like a partial fit, or it just looks like an added-on beard or a coloured beard. Or I'm telling you, I think there's an assumption, or maybe everyone goes a bit slow at the point they get to the bloke. They think, oh, well, he's going to be all right. There you go, see?
Sorry.
You're right. He looked like he had white powder in his beard.
So it got in the way for me a bit, that. And I thought, isn't it funny? I immediately went, but...
So did I.
Very quickly, we were into a very dramatic... scene.
Well, he dies.
He drops dead. Spoiler alert.
He dies.
He dies. And and so immediately, the whole thing's going to be in flashback because, of course, Iain Glen wouldn't be in something for 2 minutes. And I thought it was really good. I mean, a lot happened in the first episode, and yet you had this kind of languid feel to it. I think it was beautiful. You would know better on this one, whether it was shot beautifully, but I think the period, it just seemed really good. The styling and the set designing and the props were all great.
Well, I thought the set design and the production design was impeccable. You commented on that, especially around the kitchen, the formica tables and all that kind of stuff. I thought the sense of suburbia was lovely. We often see American suburbs of the 50s and 60s. You rarely see a convincingly portrayed British suburbia, because I often think about the suburbia that my nan and granddad lived in Birmingham. And I liked seeing that. I thought it was nice to see that. And it was quite slow. It's quite measured. You could argue it was a bit too slow. A lot happens, but it was beautifully shot, actually. It was very, very just considerately and consideredly put together. So I thought it was nicely shot.
And we were really pleased when Fiona Shaw popped up because, of course, she was in Killing Eve playing the MI5.
She wasn't playing an entirely dissimilar
No, she's not playing an entirely dissimilar character.
No.
So we were really pleased. And again, she was great. My God, she's our Actress of the Year.
She's brilliant. And she's also in the Lizzie Borden film with Chloe Sevigny. Very good. She plays the woman that she hits 58,000 times with an axe.
Lovely.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, so the biggest development of all, and this made me think, hang on, the biggest detail we have to say here is Ruth Wilson is playing Mrs. Wilson. The Mrs. Wilson Ruth Wilson is playing, I believe, is Ruth Wilson, the actress's actual grandmother.
So this is based on a true story, and it is the
Crazy.
story of a bigamist.
Well, yes. Is he a bigamist or is he an undercover Secret Service chap?
We don't know.
We don't know, and
We
I think
must
that's
put a
what.
spoiler alert on the top.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of clever about the show is that you can't work out whether he's what's that character, Walter Mitty character, who's kind of living a dual life, or anyway, because a woman comes to the door and it happens to be another wife.
Yeah.
And it made me think about those possible double lives that people lead.
And we were also saying that just wouldn't be possible nowadays. It's like Jane Moore always says that on Loose Women. She goes, "My God, anyone that had an affair these days has got to be a nutcase because it's so easy to track people, trace people, see people."
You don't need to hack a phone. Not anymore.
Yeah. In those days, you could have a double life or a triple life. So what was great about this, it was that it gave us, by the end of it, we had more questions than we had answers, so that we know we're going to have a lot of unravelling, and it's got a sort of thriller.
And there are a lot of details here that really reminded me. We have this running joke in our family that Betty, Nadia's mum, and her father are both somewhat involved with the Secret Services. I think they met at the BBC. They were in the Arabic service. Not many people could speak Arabic in Britain in those days, and this film was talking about exactly the same things. And so there was this sense of,
it's lovely for my mum and dad, because of course it's all just hilarity with us. We just joke about it. But
Iain Glen, to begin with, that first scene where Iain Glen was old, I got a bit worried. Iain Glen is also in Game of Thrones, and I love him in that. He's a great character in that. But I thought he got better the more we spent with him. When we went into Flashback, I thought
his
it was
beard in Flashback was terrible.
Well, his beard in Flashback, but is he a rogue? We don't know if he's a rogue. We don't know if he's... Because there was one really powerful scene where he said, "I'm having to go over to Egypt to do something."
And we don't know whether that's true or not.
But he says, "We're going to have to pretend that I've been arrested.
Here they come, they're coming to arrest me." So it was really good.
Cut to a scene in the park.
Yeah.
Go on.
And he's arrested. And we don't know whether he's really arrested. Yeah. And he's just done this massive fabrication. But the great thing about it is the whole time you've got this thing going on where everyone adores him. So we haven't heard yet from anyone that he's actually a baddie. We've only heard that he's wonderful. Except even the fact when we find out that he's a bigamist, it's possibly only because he's a Catholic and because he didn't want to break these two people's heart, not because he was a cad.
Yeah, and I suppose all the threads are being left there as to, is the other wife a nutter? I've got this funny feeling that perhaps Ruth Wilson's gran might have been the delusional one who chose not to see the signs. Ooh. You know, I think all that sort of stuff's quite rich and quite clever. And so you had this situation where the two families that Iain Glen's character was looking after had to come together over the circumstances of his burial.
Yeah.
There were parts of that I didn't find believable, but I'm assuming most of this is as it was.
Yeah. Oh, but come on, there's
nothing
as bizarre as true life, is
there?
I mean, how often do we say that? Oh my God, if this was written as a play, nobody would believe it. And so true. I think it's one of those situations.
So did you find it entirely believable, the situation between the two wives? I suppose it was a very stiff upper lip time, wasn't it?
It was a stiff upper lip time, and they were both wanting to save their reputation. They were both trying to save their sons the embarrassment of the bigamy. So the very strange thing of the burial taking place and
yes.
All of that. What was it? The inscription, how come the boys didn't notice, all of that. Yeah. I think that everyone is living a lie, keeping the lie going. Maybe we're going to find out that actually everybody knew and just pretended.
You see, I sometimes wonder that about my grandparents. They were that generation. I often think, I mean, I wonder, you could have, and going back to what you were saying about technology and what Jane Moore was saying, you really could live a double life back then, I suppose, and just say, I'm off this way, and you're there, and you live your life. I thought it was very moving when Ruth Wilson walked into the house of the other family and the other wife and saw the photos of him and the heartbreak and the ache that she would feel if you saw that. But then, of course, in the background, you've got this other little pulse thread. Because I had a bit of a concern by about 45 minutes in. I was thinking, OK, this is all great, and this is quite interesting, and I'm enjoying it. where the hell are you going to go with this? How much further, how much more legroom is there in this, unless there are
And
85
then-
more wives?
And then, right at the end, it turns out, we don't know for sure, but it appears he may have had a third wife.
And you think that might be why Keeley Hawes is wandering around in the background?
Keeley Hawes, because Keeley Hawes has only done this at the moment.
I thought it was the Home Secretary absconding from the other episode, the other series that we were watching. She was the one who played the Home Secretary, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So she's hovering around in the background in the
What was
church
her
and doing
name?
all this sort of stuff.
What was her name? What was her code name?
The code name was Death Star.
No, when he kept coming in and going...
God, yeah, what was that?
For the bodyguard.
Carrot Head.
No, when he would come in and go...
Yeah.
Da-da.
Oh, Cambridge Moving. No, what was it?
No.
Pheasant Moving?
No, what was it in The
Wikipedia.
Bodyguard?
Yeah, I can't
When he
remember.
would go Alpha Delta or something.
Yeah,
or...
something moving. She was always moving. Anyway, Keeley Hawes was moving in the back of shot all the time. And then finally at the end, where was she? Was she over
She was at the funeral.
She was at the grave.
No, she wasn't at the grave. She was in the mass. She was in the church.
No.
and then she
But
disappeared.
at the final scene, this chap wandered over
Oh.
who reminded me of your dad.
Yeah.
And said, "Are you Mrs. Such and
Oh,
Such, Mrs.
no,
Wilson?"
Mrs. Wilson, I'm so sorry to hear of your pain. And she says...
No,
something
there's
like
another
that.
name.
And he says, Dorothy.
And she goes, I'm
I'm
not Dorothy.
not Dorothy.
I was thinking, oh my God, we're in the land of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
So it was all very exciting. So you're right, a very slow, very meditative. I worried for this
But
this
also
show
lots
that
happened.
it would cut through in the busy
Yeah.
schedules of Game of Thrones-esque stuff.
Yeah.
I thought this could be seen as a bit boring, but it wasn't boring.
We're intrigued and we
We're
will be
intrigued.
watching and we will be reviewing.
What do you think? Did you see it? Ruth Wilson fan? Iain Glen fan? What about the fact that it's her actual grandmother? What must it be like? How would you feel about playing your mum?
Oh, I'd be fascinated.
Would that be fascinating?
It's like Mark said halfway through it, he goes, God, can you imagine the producers on Who Do You Think You Are must be kicking themselves because it would have been such a good
I forgot
reveal.
that point. Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking, the producers would have been really
And I'm
kicking
the one
themselves.
who's really ill and I'm remembering him.
You're remembering the thoughts I had yesterday, which is very
But anyway,
kind.
I think we're going to have to say goodbye now because
Yes.
in a minute I'm actually going to pass out because
Yeah.
I feel so terrible.
Give us one of your sleeves. Can I feel how heavy your tissue is? I
No,
love
that's
squishy
so
tissues.
disgusting. How can you say that?
I love dirty tissues.
Bye, everybody. I'm going to go have a lim sip.